the most attractive and least attractive accents. For most attractive, we have Brummie, Welsh, and Italian. All right, I had to look that up. I thought this was some sort of massive language that I had honestly never heard of. Maybe this is a good thing I never heard of this. There's then French, Irish, and then the London accent that is attractive. And finally, Scottish and Australian. Again, this is most attractive accents. Gonna need to look at these sources. For least attractive, we have Yorkshire, German, Spanish. I don't even know, are we talking about just these accents in the English language? Then there's the American Southerner, Canadian, American Midwest. Again, these are the least attractive accents. I think the American Midwest accent is kind of weirdly cute. The entire top 3 is taken by America, 2 is Boston, and number 1 is New York. I feel like there's never been a more proper moment to say it's over, we're done. Whoever conducted this poll must have only asked Australians. My only explanation. The estimated Bigfoot populations based on the number of sightings. Because there's not very many claimed Bigfoot sightings in the state of Nevada, our estimated population for the Bigfoots would only be about six Bigfoots. Now there's gonna kind of be some sort of correlation with population each state has. There's 56 Bigfoots compared to the number of sightings in California. We have a lot of people, so we're definitely finding them Bigfoots. There's about 100 Bigfoots in Texas, 47 in Florida, 0 in Rhode Island. That's how I was going to be able to poke a hole in this map. We would have definitely have found one by now if there was at least 1 in Rhode Island. Rhode Island is so small, you just look down your block and you'd be able to see it. 0 in Delaware. But what I like about this map is if there were thousands of Sasquatches running around, they probably would be mostly up here. Cascadia is home to some of the oldest trees on the planet. There's also not a whole lot of people that live here. Hate to burst anyone's bubble, but there probably isn't thousands of Bigfoots walking around, but if there is one, they probably are somewhere in here. There or Russian Siberia for sure. I don't want to start down my Bigfoot theories, but I'm just saying, is it possible there was some sort of giant creature that was walking around in the forest a couple thousand years ago? You know, I mean, it's hard to refute. I don't think there's any Bigfoot. Countries with democracy in their official name alongside their ranking in the democracy index. So if you didn't already know, North and South Korea don't actually call themselves North and South Korea because they believe they are the real Korea. So North Korea's official title is the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. That is not a joke. And their rank in the official democracy index is almost last. Wait, are you trying to tell me the country that's only had 3 leaders in the last 70 years is not a very good democracy? It's always so crazy to me how similar Kim Jong-sung looks to Kim Jong-un. Kind of uncanny. There's also the Lao People's Democratic Republic. They're also not doing very good on the democracy index. Democratic Republic of Timor, Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka, Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, Democratic Republic of the Congo. Wow, they're almost as bad as North Korea. Something's telling me you kind of jinx yourself when you put democratic in your official name. You're just asking to not be that. How Europe would have looked according to Churchill's plan. This was literally drawn on a napkin in 1945. I've seen this before and it is disgusting. Like, what is this South Germany? Why would you do something so horrific? I know this man was a drinker, but he clearly had one too many this day. There is still a West Germany in his plan, but there's also a North Germany. I like how even Churchill doesn't punish Bulgaria for being on the Axis. Just like they weren't really punished by losing territory in real life. I wonder why Poland gets so screwed. Yeah, I refuse to take this seriously. I feel like he was just trolling. 15 of the best fictional flags. Let's start with the Galactic Republic from the Star Wars universe. That looks awfully familiar. Perfect time to cut to the flag from the movie The Great Dictator, also pretty familiar. We have the House of Stark from Game of Thrones. Not too bad, not too simple either. I have to admit, the flag from Casino Royale is pretty bad. I really despise this. Joker apparently had a flag in the Batman animated series. This looks like it was made by someone that really thinks they're amazing at graphic design, but in reality, it's just pretty mediocre. There's also the flag of Wakanda. I don't remember seeing that flag in the movie. There's way too many TV and films that are gaining inspiration from a certain real-life flag. That's the Klingons, the Jedi Order flag from Star Wars, also the Dictator flag, House of Targaryen, X-Men, Bananas. I feel like Game of Thrones does a really good job with their flags. The Family Guy one is definitely the best though. Where the ultra-wealthy spend their holidays. It freaks me out a little bit when I've never heard of these places. Jackson Hole. What are they doing there? It's actually in the western side of the state of Wyoming. I know a lot of people really love that state, specifically the rich, probably because of taxes. This literally looks like the Matterhorn back there. It looks like the Swiss Alps. We got 2 spots in France, 1 Cannes. There's, of course, Switzerland, Lisbon, Portugal, Aspen, US, Napa, US, Nice, France, San Diego. What? Then it's Paris, West Palm Beach, the Hamptons, and Miami. I thought the Hamptons would be number 1. Surprised that it's Miami. I guess it's just a big summer destination. A guide to Roman aqueducts, or just aqueducts in general. So the Romans still needed a reservoir and an intake valve. They'd have it bust through these mountains, and then these are the bridges that they're so famous for. You gotta make sure the reservoir is higher up. Modern aqueducts overall do the same thing, except they're not wasting their time with any sort of fancy bridges. And we have figured out that you can go up, but we need to make sure we treat the water first. Is this where the theory came from, that the Roman Empire fell because they were drinking lead? I do miss those bridges though. How quickly the first American carrier got off the coast of Israel. Now, it wasn't that far away to start off. It was stationed in the Mediterranean. 24 hours later, it was already about south of Sardinia, and then about 2 days after that, they made it to their destination. All in all, about 3 days. Keep in mind, carriers move at about speeds of 35 miles per hour. I didn't even realize the US plans to make 10 more of these nuclear-powered aircraft carriers. This thing is already pretty much just a giant monster. Comparing the population density of Gaza to the city of London. London is pretty dense, but there are parts of the Gaza Strip which is 5 times even more dense. Some of these regions have about 30,000 people per squared kilometer. This is obviously a pretty big topic as of late. Though Gaza is very dense, it's still nowhere near the densest place we've ever had on Earth. At its peak, they squeezed 50,000 people into an area not even 1 square kilometer. 1/100th of a square kilometer? What? Would have thought by now we would have learned that it's not a good idea to do that. The color breakdown of global flags. So the current whitest flag on Earth is the official one from Afghanistan, whether we recognize it or not. Now, technically, because in the light spectrum, white is all colors combined, this would make it, I think, the most colorful flag in a way, right? I mean, Albania might possibly have the reddest flag in the world. Only 13% of it is black. Meanwhile, Somalia might have the trophy for baby blue. 95% of their flag is just this blue tone. Didn't even realize how almost perfectly split the colors are into thirds from the USA flag. Well, actually, the United Kingdom has this way beat for proportionality, but the UAE flag is split perfectly, 25% of each color on this flag. Of course, there are a lot of flags that go with the 2 or tri-color split. Ukraine's nice 50-50. This is probably one of the most interesting flags on the diagram though, the nation of Seychelles. Most of the colors are split at 16.7% except for red because it spreads directly across. That's at 33%. Saudi Arabia might currently hold the title for greenest flag, but that's only because Libya changed their flag. This was literally their flag pre-2011. It does not get greener than this. This is one of the times where some of the more colorful and maybe less clean designs are more interesting to look at. For example, Eswatini, 32% red, 37% blue. We've got 13% yellow, also some black and white. This math is not adding up in Gibraltar, which is kind of confusing to me. Where'd that 0.1% go? Is it in black lines? Oh, they have black already covered. The British Virgin Islands has 2% yellow. Kind of want to see the ratio for the flags that have the smallest amount of each color. US Virgin Islands might have the smallest amount of green at 2.3%. I could probably look at this diagram all day. There's so much to take note of. Your salary needed to buy a home in the US. Oh boy. Let's start with the worst place to buy a home in the US, California. San Diego at almost $200,000 a year to buy a home. That is insane. But it's still no match for San Francisco or San Jose. San Jose is the worst in the country. A median priced home in San Jose costs $1.6 million. That is insanity. What is going on? Of course, Seattle and Portland are pretty high up there too. Miami's only at $137,000, and apparently that's where all the rich people are going. They probably leave for the hurricanes though. There's Orlando and Tampa. There's certain areas that are more reasonable. New Orleans at only $68,000. Memphis, Tennessee, Oklahoma City. There we go, $62,000. Things obviously begin to skyrocket again as we get to the East Coast. New York is up there, but I thought it would be even higher than that. Buffalo, New York is weirdly very affordable. You could go to Detroit, Michigan at $62,000. Oh, Pittsburgh might be the lowest at $50,000. I'm gonna move to Pittsburgh. Yeah, you pretty much got to move to the Midwest. They're offering the most affordable prices. Top destinations for exports from Brazil. You might think, why Brazil? But Brazil is caught in the middle between this strange rivalry of the US versus China. Brazil is in BRICS. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. They're also not too far away from the US, and they kind of need to work with the US. So the majority of Brazilian provinces export to China, but a lot of the coastal ones have most of their exports to the US. There's a couple outliers like Canada Canada, Finland, and then Colombia and Venezuela. They border Colombia and Venezuela. That's not shocking. We got Singapore squeezing in there, though. China's currently winning the battle, but I would love to see this overlaid with the population density, or the economic output is probably a better way to put it. The world's oldest metro systems. So the first metro was opened in London, 1863. Maybe that's why they got a pretty good system. I liked their system, although I heard many Brits complaining about it. Me and all my friends just loved the fact that all you had to do is tap here. I do not want to go to a machine. So London had almost a 30-year head start, then Chicago came second, Budapest 3. The British rolled out with their second one, then it was Paris, then we had Boston. We really didn't want to build New York. New York didn't open up their subways till 1904. Buenos Aires in 1913. That really is just a good indicator of how bad Argentina has done. They were doing so good 100 years ago. Madrid, Barcelona, Tokyo, Osaka. We have some pretty big names now. Like the Rome subway system is not that good. They've had like 70 years to improve that. Didn't even know Georgia had their own subways. There's Seoul in 1974. DC in 1967. Japan has so many. Japan really loves their subways. I guess I should be saying metros. A lot of the most recent metro systems are all coming out of China, but we do have one new one in Honolulu, Hawaii. I had no idea about that. Also Canada rolling out one in Montreal. Wait, this is so cool. This just released. I want this. I'm gonna try this in Hawaii. I literally want it like in my house.
And big thanks to my patrons this month. Drew, I'm your dad, back with the milk. Look outside.
KirinoIsBestGirl.
The clone's training is complete and is
Fredrik
approaching.
Tibblin.
Sleep
Lad
without
Australia
Australia
is
is real. I am not a paid actor.
TheGreatRalphy.
John's annoying friend. Sebby, if you
ZaneyBoi.
hear this, I love you.
GoodOldRyah.
The Mexican 76510.
aPhatNarwhal.
RyeThePie.
Carmel
LuxembourgLover.
And why am I doing this?